My loves, can we act like I'm not late on posting and that I didn't miss posting for 2 weeks? So listen, the story is this is how it started. I got started on the set early for the last collab, right? And I wanted to do aquarium nails. Well, I ran out of time. So I popped them off and stuck them in my cup holder, and I wanted to get to them my next couple days off. Well, when I went back to get them a couple days later, there was baby oil all in my cup holder. They leaked. I had to redo this set, and then I ran out of time again from having to do the aquarium all over again. So then I had to wait a whole nother week until my next couple of days off just to do the nail art, okay? I love you guys. And it finally made it here. So listen, I'm going to get into who Lisa and Tessa are, who chose this Twisted Fairy Tale collab. Thank God, because it's past Halloween, and it would have been really stupid to post something that was Halloween content now. So yeah, let's get into these aquarium nails, finally.
So before we get into some morbid truths about original fairy tales before Disney got a hold of them, including The Little Mermaid and how she actually dies in the end, look at this set. It's so cool. She has tattoos and fangs and the tentacles squeezing the life out of the nails. This is truly one of my favoriteest sets that I've done. It is super just cool. It's really neat. And I want to get into like these nails and how I created them before we get into some of those morbid fun facts. So I decided to go in with a full cover press-on method, and I'm not going to build these as full nail aquarium tanks. So the tank isn't going to go all the way up onto my nail bed. I'm going to cover my nail beds with glitter so that it matches what's in the tank and floating in the tank. But the tank is only going to be the free edge of the nail, the length of that press-on. So if that makes sense, I go in after prepping my nails. I go in with 1 coat of base gel and I cure that because I'm going to be using polygel. So base gel is the best primer to use. You don't need regular primer. You just buff your nails, dehydrate, and go in with base gel. I cured that first layer, and then I went in with a second coat, and that's what I'm encapsulating the glitters with. I'm just plopping these glitters that I picked out and making sure that I cover the full nail bed. And then once I'm happy, I cure that. And then just because I know I'm going to have to pop these off and I'm going to run out of time, I decide that in order for me to make sure that the structure is there on that nail bed for when I pop it off, I decided that I was going to apply the polygel to the nail bed instead of the press-on, because a lot of people, when you do press-on method, they'll just scoop a little bit of polygel onto the press-on and then apply it like you would regular press-ons that you use with nail glue, right? You just put the polygel inside the press-on like you would the nail glue and then just plop it on your nail. Well, I had a lot of glitter on my nails, and I needed to make sure that that glitter was fully encapsulated and that that polygel was all down in all them nooks and crannies, because if I had a weak spot and I left air bubbles down under the glitter pieces that are lifted, if I went to pop them off, those weak spots could create cracking. And I really didn't want that, and it didn't happen. I had to pop them off. So this way definitely worked. And I had to be also careful because I already had 2 coats of base gel and glitter on my nail. And there wasn't going to be much room up under that press-on for too much more. And I had to be careful to not use too much polygel, because if I did, it would just all squeeze out the end towards the length of the press-on and ruin the tank, right? If it squeezed out too far up the length of the press-on, it would ruin the tank. So I was like, shit, this is a lot of making sure that everything is going to work out right. And it did. It worked out right. So this is the way I chose to do it. Now, I did etch the inside of the press-ons, not with an e-file. I used a non-acid primer from Criminal Claws to etch the inside of those press-ons. You have to etch it one way or another. Either use your e-file, either use a little buffer, or use non-acid primer and chemically etch it. So here they are, and I did really good. The polygel didn't squeeze out too far up that length, and I have plenty of space for my aquarium tank. So I go in and I make sure that I clean up around the edges. Look how much squeezed out the side. I made sure that I allowed it to squeeze out the side instead of up through the length of the nail. I wanted to make sure that that aquarium tank did not get ruined. So yeah, I just kind of popped it away from the skin and cut it off, whatever squeezed out. And here we have, filed cuticle area, made it look super nice. Anything that didn't look nice, that's fine. I'm buffing the entirety of the nail, and then I'm going to go in with base gel and kind of even up that cuticle area. Anything that doesn't look the best, I'm just using base gel to kind of fill in that cuticle area and make everything look nice and smooth and neat again. But this is the part where you're going to see me go in and actually build. Look how cute they're looking. They're looking really cute. Yeah, so I just use one of my art brushes to go in with base gel and make sure that I detail that cuticle area with it. But when I build the tank, you're going to see me build the walls, right? We already have the top of the tank, which is the press-on. Now we need two ends of the tank and then the bottom of the tank. So I go in and I use polygel to build one end of the tank that's going to be right up at the free edge of my natural nail under that press on. And you're going to see me do it. And how I decided to do this was I just kind of plopped some up in there and just built a wall. And I made sure that wall came down to the edges of the nail, because when I built the bottom, I needed to make sure that the bottom would meet up with this little barrier that I'm creating here, if that makes sense. So here I applied the polygel in there, and I'm just creating a nice little 90-degree wall the best that I can. I bring it down further than what it's probably necessary, just so I could go in and use a file and make sure that it is straight across the bottom. So you're seeing me here press it out, and then I use this file to make sure that it isn't all jagged up under there and that it is nice and a 90-degree angle up under there. It's going to be a nice little wall, a straight little wall. And then I use this form to build out the bottom of the tank. And you see me here, I'm measuring my nail against the tank, and I am just going in and patting everything as thin as possible. Polygel is pretty hard. You don't have to worry about it like you would with a base gel. It's not as flexible as you think it is. It's pretty durable, even in its thinnest state. So I go, and after I laid it out flat, I just plopped my nail into it and cured it like that. Yeah. And then I peeled away the form, and here we have a tank. And I'm going to file everything into shape, fill it up with the glitter, fill it up with the oil and the blue. And I make sure that if there's any holes that could potentially cause leaks, I go in and I use a little bit more polygel and fill those in also. And then I go in and shape and file everything. And you're going to see it looks really nice in the end. It's looking crazy right now, but it looks really good in the end when we go to fill everything in. So here I just plopped my nail into that wet polygel layer, and here we have a bottom of a tank. So does it make sense to you why I built that wall up near my nail bed pretty much? Because it would have just leaked out. You needed something there, right? Yeah, so it worked. It worked. So we're going to fill these in with glitter, oil, and blue food coloring. And that's going to create our little tank. Yeah. So listen, in the original Little Mermaid, right? Here we're going in with oil. In the original Little Mermaid, in the fairy tale that was written before Disney got a hold of it, the Little Mermaid was obsessed with humans, and she wanted to get to go up on land. And she got to see this prince during his birthday bash on a ship. And there was this huge storm, the ship crashed, and she saved his life. She threw him up on shore, and she waited out in the water until a human came by and found him. And then she went back into the sea, right? Well, she wanted a chance to get to meet him, and she was in love with him. So she went to a witch, and the witch told her, I will give you legs, but you must give me your voice. And this is going to be a very painful process. Here we're going, and I just plopped some polygel on the very end and flattened it out. And yeah, it looks like melted wax on the end. It's crazy. But we're going to file it into shape. So don't worry. But yeah, I just plopped some polygel there, cured it, and that is that last little wall. But okay, so the Little Mermaid, the witch tells her it is going to hurt you like nothing else has ever hurt you before. Every time you dance, you are going to be in pain. Every time you walk, your feet will bleed. And you must make this prince fall in love with you, because if he marries another, you will not get to live. You will die, and because you are not a human, you are a mermaid, your body will turn into sea foam. But if you can get him to fall in love with you and marry you, that means that he gives you part of his soul, and that means that you become human, and that if you die in human form, you will get to go to heaven. And she went up on land, took this potion that the witch gave her, and she started walking, and she found the prince, but she was mute. So they went and did all this stuff, but he never fell in love with her. She stayed in love with him, but he never fell in love with her. And he wanted to meet that woman that found him on the beach, because when she threw him up on the beach and waited for someone to find him, it was actually a princess from the neighboring lands. And he was in love with her. So he goes ahead and he marries her. And the Little Mermaid knows that she is going to die. Like, she's gonna die. So her sisters make a deal with the witch to get a dagger. They cut all their hair off, give it to the witch, and the witch gives them a dagger and tells them, tell your sister if she can kill the prince before her time is up, that she will get her fins back, become a mermaid, and get to come back into the sea. The Little Mermaid couldn't do it. She couldn't kill him in his sleep with his wife. So what does she do? She throws the dagger and she dies. She dies, but these spirits come to her and they say, we've went through what you went through, but because you showed such humanity and you chose not to kill him, we're not going to allow you to turn into sea foam. If you do good deeds by humans for the next 300 years, after 300 years passes and you've done enough good deeds, you will actually get to go to heaven. And that is the story of the original Little Mermaid. That is crazy. Oh my God, Disney really twisted that up. And these fairy tales were never meant for children. Just so you guys know, these fairy tales were never meant for children. They were cautionary tales, kind of like wives' tales, urban legends, stuff like that, right? They're just caution us against doing certain things or being in certain places, like certain urban legends do. That's what these were back then, urban legends. And Disney got a hold of so many of them and turned them into just such iconic little girls' dreams. These horrible fairy tales became little girl dreams. Yeah. So, okay. After filing the tanks into shape and going in and top coating everything, sealing everything up, I go in with some clear poison putty and build out some balls for the bubbles and paint those blue. And then I use the pink poison putty to create the starfish, and you saw me pat that out with the silicone tool. And then we're just going in and creating dots on it just to make it look a little bit more realistic. It wasn't really looking realistic. And then we're just going to use poison putty to build our seaweed and our Ursula tentacle, kind of, because it's purple like Ursula. I kind of wanted to give it that Ursula evil vibe. Yeah. So we're just using our poison putty to do that, and that's pretty much most of the 3D art. I didn't do too much. I really kept this simple. The art was not a very long process. Now, drawing out the Little Mermaid was probably the longest part of the art process. It probably took me the time that it took me to create the Little Mermaid using our gel paints, that whole time just for her, it was probably the same amount of time that it took me to create all the 3D art for the entire set. So yeah, 3D art is actually a really fast process. You get like such a bang for your time. It looks like you spent so much time, but honestly, it doesn't take long to create this stuff. It takes longer to keep going in with different colors and painting a portrait, having to cure in between every little brush stroke. Definitely, I love 3D poison putty. But, okay, so did you know the Hansel and Gretel fairy tale? That during, like, this Renaissance era, there was a food shortage. There was this blight that happened, and the crops were failing, and people were starving. Did you know that mothers were eating their children? Cannibalism. Some people chose to die to save the young in the communities. The elderly would say, don't feed me, feed the children. But then you had these evil mothers that were like, I gotta live another day. I gotta be that bitch. I got, like, for like those people on TikTok that are like, F these kids. That's what the mothers were doing. And they were seriously eating their own children. Are you serious? Do you guys remember the fairy wing set where we were going over the changelings and the stories behind that? I thought that was wicked, how mothers would want to, like, abandon their children and make up lies about, oh, it's a changeling, it's a fairy, I don't want to take care of a baby that's not mine. Like, just because the baby was messed up. This is even more messed up than that. Like, I don't understand. So Hansel and Gretel was a cautionary tale because their parents were poor and had no money for food, so they abandoned their children at the edge of this wilderness. And the children went on a trail with the parents, and then the parents just kind of dipped out and ran away. And Hansel was smart enough to leave a trail of rocks, so he found his way back home, but when he got home, his mother was dead. So his father took him back out to the woods because he had a new wife. And he is like, y'all ain't messing with my vibe. Like, we got a whole new thing going on. So, and with the poison putty, I'm just using water to make it slick. I don't use acetone. Just a cautionary reminder for you guys. If you do use poison putty, water works great. Do not use acetone. It will eat it up. But with Hansel and Gretel, like, they end up coming up on this witch's hut, and the witch enslaves Gretel, forcing her to feed Hansel and make him all fat so that the witch can eat him. And yeah, she had, like, this candy hut that when they came upon it and they were starving, they just started munching on the hut. And, like, that's what it comes from, though, is that blight and the food shortage and people starving over in Europe. And yeah, people really was eating their own children. That is crazy that that's where that fairy tale comes from. I can't believe it. All right, so here we're getting ready to paint the Little Mermaid. I just mixed some brown and white together to create her skin color, and you're going to see me do her. But in the meantime, I want to introduce you to Miss Lisa. Now, Lisa and Tessa chose this twisted fairy tale theme, and I'm so sorry that I'm late on this video and I am kind of rushing through it because there's so much to go over, and I have a time frame that I have to keep this within. So that's why I'm, like, rushing through it. I don't want you guys to miss stuff, but I also want to be able to talk to you guys about other things. So, listen. Lisa is this beautiful mother, and she is Caribbean. And when I say that she is just hilarious, she has the funniest jokes, and she says the funniest shit. If you guys go to her channel, you guys are going to get to hear her talk, and it is just so funny listening to her talk to herself, because that's what she does. She just clowns on herself, and she talks to herself the whole time. And then she's just got this dry humor that I love. Dry humor. I love sarcasm. I love, what is that? Oh, satire. I love satire. So, that is, like, so much of her channel is her beautiful art and then her beautiful personality. And you get to see her and how beautiful she is. She shows you her life, her foods, her everything. She is getting ready to do a vlog, and I am ready for it. I can't wait to see it. You guys definitely have to go check her out. Her sets have been bombed throughout this whole collab. And yeah, go check out Lisa at Dana August Nails. And then we also have Tessa. Tessa is the leader of this cult or collab, whatever you want to call it. She is the leader. And she recently hasn't been able to post her videos because don't you know that water came crashing through her living room wall? Yeah, she had a pipe burst. That sucks so bad. I'm so glad I don't have to deal with something like that. But listen, it's kind of fair because she lives in a warm weather area. And yeah, like she doesn't even really have to deal with winter. She thinks when it gets down to like 60 degrees that it's cold. Yeah, shame on her. So for that, karma has gotten her. No, actually, I remember when she got a sweatshirt and she posted a picture of her daughter in a sweatshirt. They had some frost in their backyard and it was such a pretty picture. So I do know that her area gets some frost. But she is so cool. Her art is so neat. And this collab, I'm so thankful that she started it. It's so great getting to meet other ladies. And I love Tessa so much. She is honestly a really true good friend to me. We talk all week long. All year long, all these past couple of years. We have truly grown really close and I love her so much and I know you guys are gonna love her. So you guys definitely go check her out. And yeah, we are finishing up with the Little Mermaid. We have done her hair, we have done her face, and now we are creating her design, right? The look of her face. So I'm not good at teaching people how to draw people. I'm pretty decent at doing it, but I'm not good at teaching, and I'm not going to try to teach you. I'm not going to say, oh, draw an oval and then draw a triangle at the side of the oval and then connect the two and then draw a cross and then do a circle at the top of the cross and then now, boom, you have Scarface. No, I can't do that. I'm not a teacher. I can tell you what I'm doing, barely, but I'm not a teacher. So I just do my best, and that's pretty much it. I have practiced doing portrait art and doing character art for years. I've done this since I was a teenager. It kind of comes natural at this point. It didn't in the beginning. It took a long time to learn how to draw eyes realistically and then draw a nose realistically. These things all happened for me at separate times. I would try to draw people and I would practice on the eyes. And after drawing probably like 100 drawings of faces with eyes, I would get it right. And then I would start to practice on noses. So I'd draw like another 100 portraits and the noses would progressively get better. And I would read books on drawing because back then there wasn't no internet like there is today. So I would have to look at art books in the library and stuff and figure out the best ways to draw. And yeah, it took years and research, but nowadays you don't have to do that. There are so many people online that are willing to help you and willing to coach you, and it's for free. If you find the right creators, they do nail art and they show you how they created it in the most simplistic fashion. So just go and do that. If you are interested in hand-drawn characters or portraits or art, go find a creator that does the art that you are interested in and follow them and watch how they teach you to do it and just practice. And it might take 100 times to get it right. But the more and more that you do it, the better and better you are going to get, and the more easier that it comes to you when you go to do it. So yeah. So the idea of the Little Mermaid here was that I wanted her to be grungy. I looked at a picture of her up on the rock when, you know, that iconic Little Mermaid where like she jumps up onto the rock with her arms and her fin is like in the back of her flailed up and the waves are crashing around her. That was the picture I looked at and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this, but I'm gonna make her evil. She's gonna have fangs and tattoos and green eyes, and yeah. So I just went off of that picture and made it as evil as I possibly could, and that is what we have here. And I decided to go in and create some blood splatter around everything just to make it look like a crime scene. And we are pretty much done. I love you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm sorry that I kind of rushed through the video, but I have so much content coming for Christmas, and honestly, I had to get this video out of my phone. It was late. I need to get started on other stuff, and it's so late that this content has been on my phone for way too long, and I I needed to get it out, and I hope you guys enjoyed it all. I'm sorry if this one feels a little rushed. It was. But I love you, and I hope you enjoy this set, and I will see you in the next video. I will be posting again weekly. We are back on our normal schedule, and we are going to be doing Creepmas sets and Christmas sets and fun fall sets. So get ready, because this season is the season of giving nail art. I love you guys. Make sure that you hit that subscribe. Make sure you like this video and comment down below. What do you think about original fairy tales? And what fairy tales do you know about? I love you. Bye.